Ramya ma'am, shall we start? Ramya ma'am,
Sir?
has the madam come? Shall we start?
Okay, sir. Ma'am joined, sir.
Okay. Good morning to one and all present here. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all for the third day faculty development program on nurturing the next generation educators. The medical teacher teaches, tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. As such, I would like to welcome our most delightful guest of the day, Dr. M. Kanishka Priya ma'am, Assistant Professor in English, Sarada Gangadharan College, Puducherry. We wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, who is none other than our principal, Dr. N. Muttumani ma'am. We welcome you, ma'am. Also, I extend my warm welcome to the head of the department and my dear faculty members of our institution and all the professors from various institutions. Once again, on behalf of PPG College of Arts and Science, I welcome you all for the wonderful session. Now, I request Ramya ma'am to introduce our chief guest of today.
It's my great pleasure. I introduce our chief guest, Dr. Kanika Priya ma'am, Assistant Professor in English, Pondicherry. Ma'am has delivered the topic about a foray into language games and communication in ELT. Communication is an important part of teaching. Without communication skill, any other teacher can't implement the teaching methodology. So the communication is the important part of our teaching technology. So ma'am has produced and also implemented the topic about the communication. Ma'am has presented more than 80 papers in national level seminars, published more than 50 research papers, both in English and Tamil with ISBN numbers, and published more than 25 papers in recognized journals. Ma'am has attended more than 300 FTPs and workshops in COVID-19 period alone. I am proudly says that ma'am as a trainer, organizer, acted as a resource person in more sessions like FTPs and workshops. In 2019 period, ma'am has published 2 books at the international level. From 2015 onwards, ma'am was awarded so many awards. Particularly in 2020 alone, ma'am was awarded 5 awards: Kalam Arivu Mamani Award, Illam Mamani Gandhi Award, Siva Prakasam Award, Individual Talent Award, Best Teacher Awards. In 2021, past 5 months alone, ma'am has awarded 6 awards: Women Faculty Award, Thai Ullam Award, Asiriyar Ratna Award, Paltiran Sadhanayalar Award, Surabhi Simmal Award, Kalayarivin Muttamil Award. And at last, I'm proudly says that last 2 days before, ma'am was awarded International Youth Meet Deputy Coordinator Award from New Zealand. Welcome you, ma'am. I'm proudly welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramya, ma'am.
Priya, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am. You can proceed, ma'am.
Okay, sir. So first of all, I'll present my screen. So hope today's session is the third day session. Thank you, Ramya ma'am, for giving a brief introduction for me. Good morning, one and all who have gathered here. A lot of delegates are here. I am very proud to be placed here. So here is the screen. Hope you all see the screen. Is the screen
Yes, ma'am.
visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today's topic will be on a foray into language games and communication in ELT. Actually, first of all, we are going to probe into what is language games and what are the types are that involved in language games that makes the learning process very simple. And the next thing we are going to discuss is communication. So how forward the communication process are involved in education aspect, particularly with that of ELT. ELT in the sense like English language teaching. So first thing that we are going to discuss is language games in ELT. So this language games, what is actually language game is, it is a playway activity given by teachers to their students. Rather than we have theory part, rather than we go forward with text or any source of materials, people will be bored about it. Like they never go forward by listening ourselves. Like they never pay attention to what are the things that we actually want them to know. So on that case, this type of language games makes the learning process very lively and interactive. In most of the classes, we actually tend to make students to get interactive. Like we want people to come forward in the sense that they have to have some conversation with the teachers as well. On that case, this language game will be very useful for the students as well as for the teachers. So this is actually a certain thing which cultivate the language skill as well as the linguistic skill of the student at any level. It can be from primary and it can be from any level to college level too. So language games, in fact, it helps the students to have a creative mindset. It will create some interest to the students, and we can say that it's a place where students pay more attention and they focus on the subject they actually want to learn through the activities itself. Like when we go forward with any subject, it can be of any subject, and through the activity we can make students to get interactive, and we can make students to know about the particular subject in an interesting manner. So that by this particular topic we are going to see today, it's an attempt to give you an insight into various types of language games with its use. So how to use is very important. Like just like that, we can't use language game which is very complicated and all. So there is certain things or certain rules to be used when we take up language games, and the establishment or the organization, like what types of games we take, how we have to establish towards our students, that is very important. So that is the thing that we are going to see today, and more probably like how these types of use and the establishment is going to be suitable for both English language learners or English language teaching as well as for literature aspects. So we are first of all we are going to see the types of language games. So I have listed here certain language games that will be more helpful when we go forward with taking up certain activities. We can give certain activities to the students in these types of language games. So the first point is here I have mentioned as question game. So first of all, I'll list out and I'll explain how forward we can take up these sort of games into an activity. So first thing is question game. Second thing is spelling completion. Third, story completion, reading game, written game, oral game, sentence completion, and so on. So these are the types which actually will develop the ability of the students or the learners. This in a way actually where people can learn English or any type of language in a proper way. So when we take up this type of question game in the sense, like we can give certain questions so that people will come forward in order to answer to the sort of questions that we ask. And we can also give them spelling completion. For that, I'll give the examples right now. So the aim of the particular games which have been listed here is the language games actually encourage the learners as well as the people who actually want to learn something about the subject. On that case, through playing itself, how forward we can make students to have some interaction, have some knowledge over the subject, that is very important. So next thing we are going to see here is the spelling completion. I told you like spelling completion is one type of game where the teacher can use this in the classroom. How to establish this type of game is we can make the classroom into two divisions, and on one side of the group we can ask any of the people to come forward and write it on the board. Like for example, I have given here a particular word or the name of the author Shakespeare, where the two blanks is given, like two letters are being given blank, and the other party of the other group of the people can find the letters. Like one person can write it on the board, and on the other person can find the right word of the particular thing that is written on the board. So this type can make the students to understand the word. So they can come forward with the knowledge of the letters, they come forward with the knowledge of the word that is written, and they will ultimately remember the word or the important character which is given in the novel or drama or anything else. So on that case, the which team which tells the right word in the maximum level can be awarded as a winner. So this type of activity we can use it in classroom. So spelling completion is one type of game, and the other game we can see is revision game. So the teachers can hang numbers of cards. Like you know that we have card systems while we go for research and all. We can hang certain sort of cards about it can be like 30 to 60 cards around our classroom. In which sense is the each card, like if it is like 30 cards, each card will carry a task for the students. Like it can be of any type of task, like it can be of question type or anything, any type of thing. So the students will come forward in order to answer to such questions which has been asked in the task, asked in the card. So they will come like they initiate themselves in order to translate the sentence that what is written on that particular card, and they will come forward in order to know the meaning of the sentence or know the meaning of the question without even going into the text. They will come forward in order to check the spelling. Like it can be like the misspelled words of the task that has been given to the students in order to find it. So on that case, the students will come forward in the sense they can check the misspelled word and they can correct the spelling, and even the task can be of jumbled sentences or jumbled words, so that students can pick out all the words and make the perfect sentence or make the perfect words out of that particular task which is given to them. So through this, the teacher can collect the papers, like they can collect the cards, and they can also make it as monthly test, and they can keep it for their revision test also. Rather than going forward with theory exams, they can go forward with this type of activities, and they can collect all the such evidences and make use for their testing the students' knowledge. So this can be kept as a revision work also, so that the teachers as well as students will have knowledge over that what is the activities that is done related to the subject. They will have some conscious over that. So on considering this question game, again the teacher can make two groups and in the same classroom, and they can give some sort of questions related to the subject, and one by one the students can give answers. As far as possible, it will be of correct answers, because it is an interactive session, and so that people will really come forward in order to give a right answers. And the next thing is language sequence or language skill. So what actually makes students to develop the language skill is, these are the four things, like reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So when we take up reading and listening, this two things goes together as a receptive or passive skill. There is no way of activity or something like that. It will be very passive. Reading and listening goes together as a passive skill. Whereas when we take the speaking and the writing skill, is it is a productive. We come forward with a lot of thoughts, we will put into writings, and this is actually tend to be an active skill rather than compared to a reading and a listening skill. And the next thing is ideal language. So actually, when we talk about this ideal language, what is the ideal language and how forward this ideal language should be? Is it should be very precise. It should not be of bombastic things and all. It should be very precise. It should be free from ambiguities. Like people, when they come forward in order to take up the task that has been given by the teacher, they should feel free from the ambiguities. It should be very clear. It should not have any sort of difficulties because we are not going to teach anything in theory part. It is everything is going to be in a practical level. So it should have a clear structure, and we can actually have some sayings which was given by Ludwig Wittgenstein, who have given us a philosophy of language where he actually give a contrast between sense and nonsense. Like he says that sense versus nonsense. He has also given certain address towards this language games as natural language. This is a natural language where we are not going to take lot of pains and all. It is just like that. It's going to come when we take up this sort of language games. So meaning is very important. So meaning is defined by its use. That is what he prefers. That is what he stated. Like as we use it, the meaning is automatically created. And according to him, he says that language games is a form of life itself. Like we are living a life and it becomes a part of life. So the words that we actually use, we ourselves is creating certain rules, like these sort of words only we have to use while we make some sentences or while we conversing, or certain things we ourselves is creating. So we should be very clear with the use of words. That is what he states. And the next thing we have, the things like which we actually want to bring is like conventions, like in order to understand what the other people says. The understanding of words is very much in depth, right? It is very much needed. So on that case, what makes the sense is like whenever we go for the task, like whenever we give students the task to be taken, on that side, the people might think the other side, like what the other people do, whether they follow the rules of the game or whether they how they play. Everything will be noticed by the other side of the people. Rather than talking about themselves or rather than saying about themselves, they go forward in order to check the other people. So the language games is actually as a part of social activities. We can say that there are a lot of countless games are there when we take up these types of language games. This actually is brought up from not from school or college level. It is actually brought from family itself, from the background of the people itself. So through this, teacher can teach students to give different words. Like you know that same you will have two words with the same sound, but there will be two different meanings. So we can give certain words and we can make familiar of those words to the students. And the next thing is meaning of a word, which has been very important. Like what is the meaning we give for the word? Actually meaning is can be tend to be a meaning of life itself. So this in fact actually makes each other to understand, like if I speak, people should understand. On that case, what is very purposeful or what makes the thing to be meaningful is the language I speak, and we are living in certain context and we actually understand each other. So certainly makes meaning. So these sort of words we use or the sentences we use actually provides a meaning for the aspect that we are living. Okay, so it is very important to note certain things, like what type of language game we use and what is the advantage of language game, what are the disadvantage of language games, and how probably or how perfectly we choose the language game is very important. And there is also, we can say that there is a really a helping hand in both learning and teaching process. What has been a helping hand is this sort of language activities or language games. So there is a need to understand what is language game. On that sense, we should give certain games which are being very funny. It should not be very complicated and all. So because it is a tool for the students in order to reach their goal, they have to reach their subject. They are being very clear. They want some clarity towards the subject. On that sense, what has been the vehicle or what is the tool of the particular thing is language game. So language should not be related to the things that is going to be very directly. So through the game we are going to indirectly going to reach the subject. So there can be like craft activities. We can give craft activity to the students and thereby they can make knowledge about the subject. And even through songs, like if it is a poem or if it is certain sentences which is being very complicated, on that case through songs we can make the learners to learn the language of any subject. And the next thing is the characteristics of language games. So what according to Prinsky, who have told that language games should be of fun, it should be of firm play rather than other types of things. It should be very funny. Like it should have some rules, it should have some goals, interactive, outcomes should be there, the feedback should be there, adaptive, where we actually we have to adapt it. Like it should not be a complicated thing for adapting, it should be a funny thing, it should be a easy thing to adapt. And we can give some win states. There can be conflicts, problem solving, interaction, and also of a story. So teachers can fix these types of games at relaxed atmosphere rather than setting into a classroom. Like classroom is said to be a closed space rather than open space. So we have to set some open space, open atmosphere, so that people will be enjoying the atmosphere. Through that, they come forward in a way that they create some attention to the things that we say. So thereby students will remember the subject. Even as a novel or drama or poem, anything can be registered in their mind in a better and a quick manner. So there is both advantage and disadvantage. We can't say that only there is only advantage in language games. There is also disadvantage when we look upon the language games. So we ourselves can probe into the advantage on the thing that we see as advantages. Like students will feel fun, then they feel very motivated. They will be very in a way they will be challenging their knowledge in a new way, interactive. A lot of skills can be established by them and they can develop themselves. Even meaningful context can be created, variety of classroom settings can be noticed, and ultimately it actually creates a concept practice at the end. Whereas when we look upon the disadvantage, it can be of sometimes students may feel too difficult to learn certain things within the time limit. Like for this case, when we're going to probe into the use and the establishment of language games, we'll see that like a teacher can take a half an hour period after completing the theory part for half an hour. Like we have in our classroom, we will be in the sense like 1 hour or 45 minutes. On that case, we can divide the session and according to that, we can make the activity in a useful manner. On that case, people or the students will find difficult in order to complete the task within the time limit. So this can be one type of disadvantage, and certain things they have to spend on that is too expensive also they can feel. And the students may also lose the game as they feel tired over the time as they do not match the assessment. Though they have knowledge over the subject, some people could not execute within the time limit. On that case, there is a disadvantage in meeting the assessment test. And there is a certain ways to choose language games in ELT as well as for literature. They can be initially with fun, and it should create some friendly competition rather than fight between your students. It should be a friendly competition. It should create involvement and interest among the students. The what type of game we choose as a teacher is very important, and that is the thing that makes students to get involved, and that is the thing that makes students to be interested. So it also encourages the students to learn something which we want to do, which we want them to learn rather than going forward with memorizing. So in those days and all, many students, even myself, will memorize mathematics and all. So actually, when we are not aware of the subject, or when we are not likable or lovable to that particular subject, we go forward with memorizing. So on that case, when we go forward with this sort of language game, this will ultimately help students to learn by themselves rather than to teach them. They automatically learn something by themselves itself. So it should meet learning objectives. So what is the thing that we want to teach them that should be met through this type of language games? So it should be created, and these sort of things should change the learning process, and through this they will get a chance of learning, and they can practice this, and they can give also the review of the things of the they actually learn. And the ideas of language games are certain things I have listed, like puzzles. We can give them puzzles that like such of crossword puzzles, logic, or even jigsaw games, board games, memory card games, even like whispering the spelling, so that they will know about the pronunciation, how to pronounce, how the vocabulary is used. They can also go forward with chain spelling that can be helpful in improving their vocabulary. Describe the images. Actually, when before we speak, we describe certain things that we want to elaborate on particular event. On that case, they can describe the image, and the image can probably maybe related to the subject, or it can be of a novel or drama, and through that what is the scene is being described, the people can come forward in order to describe that particular image. So dice games we can use, so that helps in speaking, like people come forward in speaking, and even when we talk about the speaking skills, minds can be used. Role play, like particular character can be taken from a drama or a novel, and the people can put into a role play, and it will help them to know the character throughout their lifetime. So this actually helps them both skills, like not only listening but also in speaking skills. So these in a way help students to have concentration through fun games. Even we can give scrambled words as a game with specific letters, and we can ask students to guess what is that particular word is, and people will ultimately come with appropriate answers. Okay, and the next thing is, language games can also be as certain things like random words. So when we start with random words, a teacher can make students to stand like stand in a circle and ask anyone to start. If a particular student is starting a word like car, the other person can interpret or give the some word that has been associated with the word that the first one have used. So car in the sense the other person can use it as wheel, is being which has some meaning towards the first word that has been told by the first person. And simultaneously, one by one, a word can be randomly used, and the other one can pick up the same meaning with that. So if it is like France, if it represents a country, on that case, the other person can give one more country like Germany. So this will tend, or this will actually make students to come forward with a lot of words from their mind. They can think, and within a second they can come forward with a lot of words. So this makes students to aware of the words they actually know. So when people are being stick to their own mother tongue, the use of English is very difficult on that case, or any type of language they use. So on that case, these type of activities make them to be aware of the words that are being used in English. And the second thing is rhyming words. So again, teachers can ask students to stand in a circle, and if the first one starts with a hall, with the word called as hall, and the rhyming with that of the word that has been associated with hall, people can come forward in giving a rhyming word. So hall, and the other one will say it as stall, recall, wall, and one by one they will associate with the words they hear, and it will actually make them to have a listening skill also. And next one is forming words. So again, in a circle, the first person, if it is like a word called as toilet is used, the second one, like forming words in the sense we can take up the end sound. With the end sound like toilet, the let is being as an end word, and with that word or with that particular sound, the other student can give a word for that. So light, they can come forward with the same sound, or the same the end of the word can be of the beginning of the other person's word they want to reveal. So this is a type of games which help students to form a word, and this will ultimately help them to have knowledge over the words. And the next language games in ELT are of reference to those games that are being like the incidental English language. So as students often feels that the books are boring, their learning speed will be very slow while they take forward with books or materials they have it in a hand. For that sake, what is important, the teacher should be very imaginative, have to plan the language game in order to make or create interest among the students. So students should have some interest. On that sake, the curiosity should be created only by the teacher, and the students can be reactive, and they can have a completion feeling. They can be very sharp-minded through these sort of activities. The important role, they will even the important role in the sense like we saw in the previous slide itself, like a role play from the novel or drama, so that they will be very much knowing about the character which they learn. So this is actually called as playway method, or it can be also called as accepted method. So this makes the teaching subject at the earliest point. And we can say that the spirit of completion will help the students to listen. If you take a lot of time to complete a portion, on that case even students will be very much tend to have some completion thing, and they will get bored. On that sense, these sort of things will make them listen and understand what is the thing that we teach, even make thinking process very quickly and very precise the things, and they will be very correct about the answers they actually want to speak. Either it can be oral or written form. So for this, actually what the teacher have to do is they should not take long time and all. As I told you, if it is like a 1 hour session or 45 minutes, what you have to do is you have to allow time either as a half an hour or 15 minutes for the particular things that will be suitable for the learners. Certain activities can be chosen and we can give it as an activity, and we can make students to be interactive. So the teachers can help some rules, or they can have some rules in the sense that games in the games, and they can reveal to the students very clearly, and accordingly the students will come forward in order to take part in the such types of language games in order to have knowledge over the subject. So therefore,
என்ன சொல்றோம்னா குடோன், இந்த குடோன் மூலமா என்ன selling the product. And same இன்னொரு one more company பார்க்கும்போது என்ன, that is வெறும்ன்றதுன்னா இங்கே இல்ல.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So therefore, the language learning should create enjoyment. It should not be of bombastic. It should be very easy. It should create some interest, and finally the success should be there, and ultimately it will be a success at the end of the subject knowledge. So here teachers should have a mostly should create an informal atmosphere. Formal atmosphere, as we know that it is a classroom. Informal atmosphere in the sense we can go for a setting that is apart from classroom, and we can give some positive factor and overcome, students will overcome with anxiety. They will be very anxious of what they want to learn, what they are going to learn. So this will ultimately create a linguistic knowledge, and this showcase the students capacity, like what much they have it in their mind, and what how forward they are putting into their skill. That is what we can know from these sort of things. So finally here, through this type of learning as well as teaching becomes very easy. And the next thing is, so before that, before we put, as I told you, the initial thing that we are actually discussing is language games, and we have to use it, right? So on that case, how to establish it, how to organize the language game is very important, so that the teacher should divide the students as a team. That is the first important point. As that of that, if it is like 35 students or more than 35, we have to divide the students so that they will pay attention towards us. So even we can make a fresh or new division among, we can match about their ability, how forward they will be, or by their numbers also. We can set certain rules and we can also explain the rules to the students. If it is needed, we can also explain them through mother tongue, which will make student to understand the rules very easily. We can also cite certain examples, like 2 or 3 examples by the teacher, so that students will understand the game, and how forward they can play the game, they will know it. So teachers should be a part of the game. So as it is, we should not give an activity and students just like that they themselves will not do the activity. We ourselves, as a leader, teacher should take some role in the game. On that case, teacher can be a leader in the game, and he or she can pay their attention, pay their role in the particular game they actually give to the students. So they can take a part. So while they take a part, it will give a better results to that particular subject. So the teacher should seek whether the game is within the linguistic capacity, or the teacher can also give the names for the teams, which will make more interest to the students. So this is a sort of effort, in order to reach the subject or reach the goal, to have a success over the subject. This is a we can say it is a one push, or it is a extra swing that we give forward to the students in order to achieve something about this subject. And the next is the games can also be like this, like recognition games, claims, building games, word ladders, read and write development. So I have also given you certain examples related to the confused words. Like we can put words in a improper manner, and so that we can ask students to correct the words and put it and come forward with the right word. So we can arrange the letters, and we can ask students to arrange the letters and come forward with the right words. So this will ultimately help students to know the words that are being used. And even we can give practice to the sentence structure. Like we can give a sentence with a blank, and we can ask them to fill it. Like I eat, for example, I like to eat apples. So rather than whether we can check whether the student is fixing with apple or apples, whether they use plural or singular. So in order to check their subject verb agreement, like we call it as concord. So we can also put a like tableau column in the sense, and ask them to match the plural words like foot, tooth, man, women, for the instance. And the next thing is spelling games. So we can give a sentence like I went to shop and I bought dash. So we can also give certain options to them in order to fill the blanks, and they will ultimately know it how to fill the blanks and what type of word they have to fill in the blank. And further, the games can also be like this, like spell bee completion, figurative languages. Figurative languages in the sense we can make use of literary text. We can go forward with the words or phrases that is used in the books, like emotions, like characters, scenes, settings from novels or drama, even from fiction we can take, which will make the students to remember about the text in a perfect manner. So overall, this particular language game will help both teaching and learning process of ELT and literature in an easy and speedy manner. And next, we are going to move forward with communication in ELT, or communication in education. On that sense, what makes you to have an interactive is only communication. Without communication, you can't do anything. You can't have a conversation. You can't teach anything towards your student. On that case, this communication process actually involves verbal, non-verbal, and paraverbal components. This actually is designed to mediate students and the teacher behavior. This type of communication is depend on the quality and the depth of interaction. So if it is too long, even the working style of the teacher is in need of communication. And the organization, like what type of speech what type of words they use, what type of sentence they use, they should be very focused. So it actually develop the communication skill. In order to develop it, what we have to do is, when we go forward with the teaching process and education, we should identify the future needs. According to that, we have to go forward with communication. So it is very important, and this topic actually is taken in order to establish how important this process of communication is in order to get implemented by our actions. So we have to look forward with the quality of language. So what type of quality we use while communicating in a classroom, whether it is a proper use of language is very important. So there should be some appropriate level of language in communication. We should check the correct grammar, syntax, and this actually plays an important role. So finally, should be like comprehensible. Like students should understand what we actually communicate, what we actually teach them. The students should know it. So on that sense, communication is very important. So when we look forward with the question paper, like many of our students, we will notice that when they look at the question paper, they will sit simply without even answering to the question for half an hour itself. So on that case, we should give some input towards the question paper. So there should be some balanced syllabus coverage in the question paper. There should be a conformity with the model we adapt. and we should see to that it should be answerable in the time stipulated. Like if it is like 10 marks, within the time the student should answer. Accordingly, the question paper should be set. So there should be a correct proposition between the length and the answers and the marks we allot. So adequate standard is needed in setting each and every question paper. So this actually makes accessing towards the academic attainment towards the student. And the purpose of examination, we should know the purpose. Like it is not just like that the students should get threatened, or they should be threatened or feared over the subject or over the examination. It is not to identify or label the students whether they are bright students or slow learners, or they have been problematic students. This is just to test them. Test to have knowledge. So that is what we saw in the previous slides. Like we should involve language games. So the aim of the examination, it can be like it is a thing that help the employers to choose the candidates. When you go for a job, what is very important? Like they will check your communication skill. On that case, this examination is a thing that will help you to test your knowledge. So on that case, the test should be of your syllabus. It should assess your teaching. Quality and quantity is very important. Evaluate your competence, whether you satisfy or not. So even examination can be for students, like in order to satisfy their parents also. On the other hand, to compare the students, this is very important. Like in order to compare the students, examination is kept to learn, to equip students with their knowledge, and it will mold them for their purpose of getting the job. And students will take to be a challenge, and they will come forward with the discipline. Quality will be created only through this sort of examination perspectives. Okay, and next thing is speech and wisdom. When we talk about the speech and wisdom, actually what is the thing that we can say is, here we have to think about 5 important things, like of whom one speaks, like to whom one speaks, how can one speak, when can one speak, and where one speaks. These are the things that we have to keep it as a wisdom, and we have to keep it in our mind, and accordingly we have to act. Like we will be saying that before we think, we have to before we speak, we have to think twice. After we think and speak, it will be right? So that is what. And the next is communication, civility, and culture. When we talk about this, this pays as a communication type, and this communication itself is influenced, or it is the quality of leadership. When we are ourselves as a teacher, we should have certain communication knowledge. Unless we have that, we won't be a leadership. We can't make the team. We can't handle the students. So effective speech is very important. When we think about the effective speech, what are the things that is very important is pause. When we speak, where to pause, what type of voice variation we can use, how to practice, what type of pronunciation we use, or the articulation, like pitch, and like a rising tone or falling tone, where to rise, where to fall. These are the things that makes a speech to be very effective. So that is the thing. And I mean, like where to keep a full stop or comma, that is the. And the next is communication to students. On the case that when we go forward with communication to students, there are 3 things to be noted. First thing is the level of English, like what type of English we use. And the second thing, the words are very important. And the third is the sentence structure, so that the students can come forward with understanding. So communication and teaching profession is very important in order to cultivate the profession. In order to have intention or to have a perfect thing over the profession, what is important is communication. So it is difficult to teach fully by formal methods. So on that case, that can't be imparted due to imbibe. So in order to overcome this type of barriers, which are been in communication things, we can ask students to read the newspapers, to go through the journals in order to cultivate the writing skills. They can also listen to the speakers. There are a lot of FDPs, there are a lot of webinars been there in the present times. They can listen to that. Through that, they can get some knowledge towards the language, and they can listen to BBC News and certain things. Through that, point of things, they will ultimately learn the language and the subject they actually want to learn. So communication is the thing that has been can also be called as like interpersonal relationship. So in order to understand each other, what plays a most important role is communication. So vocabulary, when we take about or when we talk about vocabulary, the adequate knowledge is being automatically created. That by to say that the appropriate choice of words. We can say that culture and vocabulary is an important role. We can take one particular word. Here I have given you some example like brick. Brick can be used in a sentence like this, like bricks for building, bricks for sentence. Even for building, they use a word called as brick. Even in a sentence, they make use of a word called as brick. So how different it is, like we should make clear about it. So in communication, these are the things that we have to remember. The vocabulary plays an important role. So even in Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, the author have been used this sort of word, Humpty Dumpty. So he says that he has used this word with some sort of meaning. So we know that each and every poet will have a poetic license. So the author have a license to use a word according to their meaning. They actually fix it. So when we speak, we have to actually know the meaning that we speak. So that will help the learners or the students to understand the thing that we actually want them to listen. And when we go for interviews or in order to get some job, what the interviewers will view it or what they want from us is the communication. So communication is the vital thing that people will check while we interact, while whether it has been effective, whether we respond them quickly, or how we are being analyzed, how we are being analytic, how we analyze things, what they say. So these are the things. And communication actually goes by two things, like hearing versus listening. Not only like listening, not only like speaking, even listening gives you a lot of things that can be put into your mind and you can use it at any time. So this pays as a part of communication is listening versus comprehension. Listening will give you a lot of understanding. So simultaneously, it is a level of interaction, and teachers can influence their students in the way they listen. So thereby, it is said that good teachers are good communicators. So as a teacher, as a professor, we should have a good communication skill. And the next thing is thought that has been very much important in communication process, that what we think, what the idea we have, that is very important, and how forward we put our ideas towards our students, that is very important. So language gives expression to the communication. It actually gives certain thoughts, certain shapes to the thoughts. Like initially when we want to speak to our students, or initially when we want to tell something towards the opponent people, what we do is like we think in our mother tongue. So on that case, when we want to narrate certain event that had been taken place within your circle, what you do is like you think in our mother tongue, and you will describe all the things, and you will make some image, and after that you will let it out to your friends, right? So the same thing. So communication barriers are created through the lack of vocabulary. So what is the thing that breaks? Like we can see students who come forward in order to speak about something. If you ask them to talk about on some topic, what is the thing that stops them from communicating or interacting is the lack of vocabulary, the confidence level, the learning level. So one of my professor have told this point, like diary of thoughts. When we have diary of thoughts, and there will be a constipation of words, and what would ultimately create is faulty communication. So we have thoughts which has been like overflowing. So on that case, diary of thoughts. But what is the thing that is lacking is constipation of words. Like words will never come out of ourselves. So on that case, it brings a faulty communication. It brings a barrier in a communication process. And we can say that regional influence. What is the main influence that we see in communication is regional influence. So here I have given one example that what is your good name? People will ask you like what is your good name? On that case, as though there is a bad name and good name, this is how is being used due to regional influence. Even what is your name? Where are you? Or what are you doing? Where are you going? How much is your salary? These are the things that can be influenced by the regional aspect. Effect of mother tongue will be there. Even effect of native culture will be there, which will be influenced in regional thing. And we can say that Indian are influenced by language spectrum. French tend to be best. American tend to be simple. Rather, British tend to be formal and complex. So examples are here from for flavors. So flavors in the sense like in English we use it for ice cream Baskin Robbins. So it is a brand name of ice cream and where they use a word called as flavors. So when we talk about this mechanism of communication, what are the things that we have to see is how it is oral, visual, tactile, whole body. Like you can say that the body language will also is a part of communication. And when we talk about this written communication, if a teacher is writing like this, if the teacher want to tell about the water perspective, on that case if he writes like if he spell it out like H2O, on that case the student write it as HIJK until O. What type of communication is that? Like the teacher is telling the equation for water, whereas the student is understanding it in a different way. So communication this is how it has been interpreted, and this is how we'll make certain things complicated. So for this case, what the teacher can do is they can put forward with PPTs that will help them to have a beautiful understanding towards the student. They can use blackboards and they can go for case study. As teacher or themselves as a dictators, they can do that. And communication and correct language in the senses like grammar, syntax, brevity, precision, and clarity. These are the things that are very important. And when we tell about this, brevity is the soul of wit, where wit actually stands for intelligence and understanding. So communication and Cartesian logic in the senses like this is actually tend to be a tool for efficient communication. So on that thing, what makes your teaching in an efficient manner is your communication. You can make things unknown to be known and known to be like in a simple and complex manner. So widely it will help you in doing a case study. So communication by teachers, the basic profession for the teacher is communication, and this can be of low level communication or other type is robotic communication. So communication is a type of remote. It will give you a lot of critical thinking. You can analyze. You can come out of a lot of application synthesis. So it will trigger you of lot of thoughts for the case of higher thinking skills, and thereby it will enhance your confidence among teachers. We have in recent times, from the beginning, we have been influenced by phony communication. We have to identify the tone, the style. We have been influenced by messages. Like when we go forward with communicating with our friends, we use short messages. On that case, we lack the communication, and certain time you can realize when you put into writing the message, what the word you used, that will automatically come into your mind. So on that case, in order to restrict all those things, we have to use a normal communication even in phony communication. So we can also see the soap culture where the verbose aggressive anchors language, like anchors in Vijay TV or Sun TV, we can see that how language is being used by the anchors, the host who have been using. So there will be annoying communication, deprived. The professional is like a salesman or lawyers, even politicians, writers and teachers. They are also influenced with communication. So salesmen who are being on us those steps, who in order to sell their product, they come forward with communication. So how they communicate. So these are the things we can learn. And even human in order to say that there is two things in communication also, like humility and fear. Where these two things are being created is between the boss versus subordinate, even between teachers versus students, and bully versus timid. So these sort of two things is created only among these two characters. And when we talk about non-verbal communication, uh, it is not with our speaking skills, it is with the body gestures. So non-verbal in the sense it is body gesture, automatically it is created. So silence is by wisdom, by it is created. So communication are also through moods, like whether we are angry, we are happy, prejudiced, or affectionated. Everything has been revealed through a body gesture itself. So even happiness, which has been blood sharpness, prejudice, crudeness, your impasse with vocabulary. So finally, affection is the main thing that will facilitate your communication, and it will be a natural mode of effective communication. So even in commerce, like commerce in the sense like it for trading, like in order to sell a product, in order to give advertisement to the product, what is most important is communication. So communication and interpersonal relationship in the sense here IPR influence more in the part of tone, style, vocabulary, and even body language. So it can be said as good relationship, and it can be of ruined relationship too. So we can say that tongue can also be silver, acidic, and foul. So a tongue can be of any kind. If you communicate in a good way, it will be of silver. If you communicate in a wrong way, or if there is some barrier, it will be of acidic and foul. So communication, how the message is conveyed, it will be like encouraging, reassuring, compassionate, affectionate. Your loving will be outthrown, and it will be of instructing, teaching, authoritarian, meancing, and intimidating. So messages are conveyed only through these process. Okay. So we in recent thing, like as we know that most of our houses are being filled with this type of childhood affection towards the communication. Like parents will give phones or laptops towards their children. On that case, what is being very affectionated is people are like babies or the kids are being very much affectionated towards the cell phones. On that case, that is some sort of affectionate is created towards the communication, and they go forward with communicating. They wanted to communicate. The thing is being created from their childhood. So psychiatric from psychological point of view, we can say that this has been due to inferiority complex. Certain case we won't go forward with communication. What is the barrier? There is inferiority complex. And we can say that superiority complex in the sense it is like aggressive in communication, or aggressive in the sense like deficiency, or creates a psychiatric problem. For dancers, you can see that that will be a use of all the things like face, eyes, legs, hands, whole body will work for them, right? So the what is the thing for dancers is communicating is their whole gesture is being communicating. So finally, body language is the final thing that makes them to communicate among the audience. So professional in the sense like when we see the scientist or doctor profession, their communication will be mellowed. Whereas when we take up lawyers and teachers profession, what type of communication will be there is augmentative. And when we take salesman profession, it will be aggressive, convincing, and persuasive. Whereas we can see that maestries and all who work in the buildings, how their communication will be, it is very loud, it will be very crude, and the media anchors, how they communicate how they communicate in the senses, they will have lot of faulty, verbose, and annoying. Even we have animal communication, though they not speak, they will communicate through their gestures, like through their howl, bark, bray, and through the sound effects, through the gestures, whether it can be violent or it can be very smooth, they will express their communication through their body gestures. So each and every animal also have certain characteristic style. through that they respond. Whether it is a dog, bird, elephant, or insects or bees, whatever it might be, there will be a certain communication which is done through chemical process also. So communication modes are like this. So how forward they come forward in order to respond. So even listening and communication skills. In order to, we can say that which makes active listening skill is the thing that we communicate. So what is the thing that we have to consider here as a good listener is mastery over language. So we can give some impressive things over communication factors. Grammar and vocabulary can be improved. Pronunciation can be seen. The body language, speech and attentiveness, how forward we are attentive, and the consistency in the style and practice. These are the things that held over listening and communication skills. The fact is, when we look upon the communication skills we know that when we talk about the profession like teachers, salesmen, politicians, lawyers, family background, attitude and passion, these are things or these are the professions where more important, what is more important here is the communication aspect. And the purpose of what is the purpose of communication is in order to, there is a purpose, and for that purpose we have been communicating. What are the purpose? Like we need food, defense, or any need for the survival. On that place or on that aspect, human beings are involved in technical communication. So communication in modern society is very vital and it has been active. So the worldwide we have global communication, like business communication. What is the need of learning is we have to be mastered over a communication. On the case, what is very important, our communication is very important. So evaluation of communication, it can be like a historic period or people are being focused by bodily gestures. In the later period, like animals, which use the sound effect or which use its body gesture in order to communicate. So these are the things that develop the knowledge over language. Like after these sort of things only language have been developed, language have been created. So highly involved in modern communication, you can see that is technology and technical communication. So pedagogical communication is also a sense where quality control is being involved. So overall, to conclude, the things that are involved in the education or ELT, the communication process, the role of communication in the sense is very vital, and this is the thing that help you to get education and make your life very effective and a good thing. So overall, to conclude, the language skill and the communication is a wheel in your chamber. I mean, like in your chariot, what is very important? The wheels, the pillars. So in order to have a good life, in order to have a healthy education, these two things plays a important role. So thank you all for being very patient, and I'll thank principal of this college, PPG college, and HOD sir, as well as Ramya Prabha ma'am for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, if anyone has got any doubts or any clarifications, you can ask now.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, I feel very blessed to have your class today.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you very much for your informative class. And I have a small doubt, and you can keep it as a question as well. What is the way to increase our vocabulary bank?
Yes. So vocabulary in the sense is like when we speak, like actually we are being threatened by whether we speak it rightly or wrong. That is the thing, that is the defect we actually have. In order to improve it, we have to speak, we have to put into writing. Like we have lot of conferences, there are a lot of seminars which has been taking place. We have to put ourselves, we have to put our effort in order to put it to writing, put our thoughts into writing. That is very important. Or also we can have certain discussion towards your friends or neighbors that will help you to improve your communication as well as your vocabulary, sir. So that is what my point is.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Mr. Karthikeyan sir to present the vote of thanks.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I deem it a great honor and privilege for propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. First of all, I would like to propose heartily vote of thanks to our Chief Guest, Dr. M. Kanika Priya ma'am, for gracing today's National Level Faculty Development Program. Thank you, ma'am, for your very interesting and thought-provoking topic, a foray into language games and communication in English language teaching. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our beloved Principal Dr. N. Mutthumani ma'am for her moral support and guidance for conducting this FTP. Thank you, ma'am. I am happy to express vote of thanks to our HOD Dr. R. Kumaresan sir, and our staff members made this FTP a great success. Finally, I would like to express my sincere thanks to participants in various institutions. Once again, thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants. Your link will be sent by some time. You can fill it and forward it. Thank you.
Thank you.